Good morning, Pinnacle team. Thank you so much for being with me as I share my answers to the 12 questions of this video interview. So I'm going to be looking off to the side a little bit because I have my questions written off to the side and I want to make sure that I'm tracking. And the very first question is, why am I interested in being a business mentor at Pinnacle? There's several reasons. First of all, thanks to my friend Phil Black, who introduced me. So I've heard wonderful things about Pinnacle, and having spoken with Phil and having spoken with Madeline, I have a sense of the company culture just being really what I'm looking for. As regards my desire to pay it forward in the world, I really feel that Pinnacle is going to be a good fit for how I do that, because I am retired early. I feel very privileged, very proud of myself as well, for having been able to build companies that I have been able to run over the years, mainly as passive income streams, or at the very least in very in a way that allows me to create my own lifestyle design. And I know firsthand that this is a big goal of the majority of entrepreneurs, to produce value for the world at large scale, while they themselves being able to preserve a very high quality of life and work-life balance. And so since I've been able to do that for myself, I want to make sure that I can pay that forward to other people in my, what could be my retirement, but I'm actually choosing to go back to work because for my own kind of selfish reasons, meaning I want this job also because I want it to enrich my life. I really miss I have missed out on, having communal work environments. It's as we're mentioning, it's lonely at the top. And so if it's lonely at the top, having been the boss or having been an entrepreneur my entire life, it's also lonely to be retired in my 40s and single and without kids. So I'm actually wanting to be in community. And I think that the Pinnacle community, whether it's the coworkers that I've so far gotten to know, or whether it's the coachees and the community at large, I just really feel like that's something that's going to add a lot of enrichment to my own life. So these are my reasons for wanting to work at Pinnacle. Question number 2 is, what is my experience as a business owner and why am I qualified? Okay, so I'm actually going to start with why I'm qualified overall, as far as points that I think will bring me credibility with you as the people hiring me, as well as with your audiences, who are going to be the ones that are really my key stakeholders, right? So as far as credibility is concerned, I'll start with the academics, even though I'm aware that that's not the most important part. But I do have a high degree of business acumen because I have a master's in management and leadership and an MBA. And what I love about having these 2 master's degrees in business is that it combines sort of the softer side of business, in other words, HR, leadership training, which I've been a leadership consultant for a very long time, and then also sort of the more strategic aspect of business building. And this is reflected in these degrees. However, I will tell you that I actually gained these in real life through my actual experience running my own businesses. The second point that I'm going to bring up, that obviously is the most important part of credibility building, is the fact that I have been running my own businesses for, I've been in learning and development of some sort, working as a self-employed person for 25 years. I have been a business owner, running my own business and being the boss over a team for well over 15 years. I have 5 income streams under 4 brands, right? I have a Spanish school in Houston called Habla, and I ran that on site for about 7 years, and then I ran it remotely, managing my team of teachers in Houston, even while I was traveling all over the world and living in San Diego, for an additional 8 years. So for 15 years, I have been running that school. As a sort of side brand to that school, I actually also created an online program called Functionally Fluent to help people learn language. And as part of that, there's also textbooks that are sold through Amazon that do bring me in a steady income stream. In addition to that, I also have my consulting brand, which is basically just myself. And I have been working in everything from entrepreneur coaching with small businesses locally and internationally, such as what I'll be doing with Pinnacle. But I've also been working in corporate America as a freelancer, as a contractor. I have been leading workshops in team building, conflict resolution, communication, and so on and so forth. So the way that I like to describe it, and this might come up later in a different question, is I have my zone of excellence and my zone of genius, right? And I would say that my zone of excellence definitely is business leadership, and entrepreneurship. But I would say that my zone of genius is actually facilitating and being with people and bringing the best out of people. This is something that I have been doing for over 25 years in some way, shape, or form. I absolutely adore being a trainer. I also enjoy doing one-on-one coaching. And I just really think that I shine in that area, which is like literally, I think, the bread and butter of what I'm going to be doing at Pinnacle. So I think I'm qualified for the job because of that as well. And then also I have my special sauce, if you will, which is that I have a strong international background, including that I speak 6 languages fluently. So I speak Spanish, English, French, Italian, and Portuguese very fluently, to the point where I could coach and train in those languages. And I also speak German fluently, although not as confidently as the other 5. And fun fact, I am learning Turkish right now on Duolingo, but that's me. So I say that I speak 6 languages fluently, and that actually is something that's a big connector, I think, with audiences. First of all, people are impressed by it. Second of all, it's a testament to the fact that I have created a life of kind of digital nomadism, right? I have literally lived all over the world, traveled all over the world while running my businesses. And I think that just seems, that's something that can come across as very sexy to a lot of the people that I'm going to be working with the messaging of like, I did it, you can do it too, you know? So let me look at my notes to see if there's anything I'm leaving out. Yeah, I think I'll move on to question number 3, which is what is my experience in sales, marketing, and building teams? So let me start with sales, okay? I was actually sharing over the phone that I am a very salesy person, for better or for worse. I'm the kind of person that I think that I am just selling all the time. But the thing is, I believe that selling is enrolling people into something that will add value to their lives, right? So I get very excited about things that I get excited about, and then I want to promote them to other people. So I kind of just have that as a core aspect of my being, sort of an innate gift, right? Is my ability to promote. In a more formal sense, my very first job when I was a teenager, it's not on my resume, of course, but I was in telemarketing for about 5 years. And that was throughout high school and most of college. Almost every summer, I would go and I would do many, many, many hours on the phone of selling. And I was always one of the top salespeople. And I've done a lot of personal growth and development things. And in every organization that I have either volunteered for, in a lot of the companies that I have worked for as a subcontractor, I have always been top enroller. I'm very good at actually upselling people to the next level without it looking like I'm actually doing any kind of selling. So that's my experience with sales. And then also, how can I forget? I mean, to me, being an entrepreneur is being a salesperson and a marketer. I mean, I was the salesperson for my school in Houston for the many, many years that I was there. I was the one that was going to networking events and doing direct sales and building community and doing all these kinds of things. And then even when I was leading that business remotely, I still was selling. I still was the face of the company. So definitely as an entrepreneur, I have kind of baked in sales experience running the business. As regards marketing, I also have a lot of experience regarding marketing. I mainly, for as far as like how many hours I put into what types of marketing, I can tell you that I'm quite good at what's known as pull marketing as opposed to push marketing. In other words, like I am good at sales. I'm good at sort of like promoting my business, in a way that puts myself out there and makes the ask. But I'm also quite good at kind of leaning back and letting people come to me. And I bet you're already guessing that's through SEO, right? Like I actually got very, very good at SEO, in particular local SEO, search engine optimization, when I was starting my school in Houston, and it worked really, really well. The SEO expert that I worked with as a consultant, she trained me. And what I tell people is that I probably know more about SEO than 99% of the people on the planet, right? But I probably only know about 80% of what a true SEO expert knows. So I don't go around calling myself an SEO expert, but I do know that those aspects of SEO that are evergreen, I know what they are, I know how to do them, and I know how important they are. So that's a lot of my experience in marketing is SEO related. I also consider word of mouth to be a form of marketing, and I think that I set up sort of systems within my school in Houston where word of mouth through key communities became a driver of marketing, a marketing driver for my business. And then I'm also good at organic business development. I am good at sort of following up on lead capture and so on and so forth. So I know that's a little bit of a blend between sales and marketing, but that's what I'd like to say about me with marketing. I also have a good amount of experience with Google Ads. I will say I never found a way. I never hit that sweet spot of having Google Ads be the main driver, to my websites. But I definitely put in the effort to learn how to do it. So I know how to use Google Ads. It's just that the results that I had that were the best actually came more through organic word of mouth, SEO, and pull marketing, more so than through online ads. That said, I do have a lot of experience with the back end of Google AdWords and so on and so forth. And then there's also grassroots marketing, because my business was small when I started it. I did flyers, I went to events, I went to conventions, and so on and so forth. So a lot of in-person marketing as well. And then I do have a bit of knowledge around social media marketing. That is probably my weakest spot when it comes to marketing, and I can mention that more later on in the interview. As far as building a team, I built a very successful team when I was running the school in Houston, and I had a team of teachers working under me, and it was a small team. There were, I think, at most, it was maybe six teachers working under me as contractors. However, I will say that I'm extremely proud of the retention rate that I had, of the low turnover that I had. I had two of my teachers were working with me for over a decade, if you can believe it, and then the other teachers did stay with me for at least a year each. So, and it was a very cohesive, functional team. I also had a virtual assistant that helped me do the admin, and so yeah, I definitely do have experience running my own teams, building my own teams. I also have taught team building to other organizations as part of my consulting work. Let's see. And I want to say one more thing about building teams. So, at the time that I had my business, and it was small, and I had a small team, I just feel like it was a lot of trial and error as far as team building. I will say that over the years, through the consulting work I've done, as well as the academic kind of learnings that I got throughout my master's in management and leadership, and so on and so forth, and my fascination with personality or style typing tools, assessments, things like DISC model, the Enneagram, things like Hogan, Strengths Finders. I do think that I actually have a really good kind of grounding in what Jim Collins said in Good to Great, that it's not just about putting a team together. It's not just about getting people on the bus. It's about getting people in the right seats on the bus. So I will say that if I had to build teams again, or as I'm coaching people about building teams, I think that I would bring in a lot of these sort of diversity style diversity, personality diversity, gender diversity, ethnic diversity, like the diversity, but also strategic diversity, I think is a really important part of team building. And so I think I can speak to that very intelligently, both from experience and from kind of personal passion and interest in these types of things. On to question number 4. Time management. Yes. So here's what I would say if I were coaching somebody around time management. I would actually say that the key to time management is to start with analyzing your own values and your own priorities, right? Understanding what it is that makes you tick as a business owner, as a human being, as an individual walking the earth, right? Also think about what you want to prioritize as regards who you're serving, right? Your customer base. And then once you have those values in place and priorities in place, I would say to work backwards from there and to make sure that every day you have 2 or 3 key tasks or key task buckets, right? That are going to be aligned with those values and those goals, right? Those priorities. And I would say it's easy for me to say, don't sweat the small stuff. And I would understand, having experienced this myself, when we kind of want to do everything all the time and please everybody else, I understand that there's no sort of telling people to turn that switch off. But I do think that over many, many years of practice and mindset shift, people can be taught to sort of slim down the number of things that they believe to be important or essential in order to run their business. So I would say that I have a very kind of my approach is sort of to streamline. And I actually am, what I'm about to say, I'm going to steal from 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I'm a big fan of first you eliminate whatever's not necessary. Then you automate whatever is necessary but is automatable. Then you delegate. And I think this is where business owners have the hardest time is with the delegation. Then you delegate. And anything that's left over, you do, right? But I think the eliminate phase is important because a lot of times, having priorities helps you eliminate all that which is not a priority. So I know this is a lot of kind of the mindset side of it. Obviously, I've taught time management. I've done my own time management where I could also teach specific models, specific tools, the quadrants of like what's essential versus what is urgent and so on and so forth. I know how to actually help people in a step-by-step way with their time management, build a calendar, so on and so forth. Having said that, I actually think if there's not a mindset shift from the beginning, it's really, really hard for those strategies it's hard to execute strategies that you're not really bought into. So I would work on shifting the mindset in order to shift the amount of things that need to be time managed. Let's see, question number 5. What do I think are some of the main reasons that businesses fail or stay stuck? I'm going to answer this in 2 parts. I think that one of the reasons that businesses fail is that there can be a lack of alignment with the owner or founder's deepest values, and there can perhaps be a lifestyle mismatch. So an example I would have of this is, let's say somebody decides to start their own work from home business or multi-level marketing or something like that, and they're excited by the idea of it, but then deep down they realize that what they'd really rather be doing is getting a steady paycheck, or maybe they would rather be a stay-at-home parent or something like that. I'm not saying that it's an either or, by the way, like people can do both, but I'm saying let's say somebody gets jazzed up or caught up about something, but it's not really aligned with what they deep down want to do. I think that entrepreneur probably will either eventually realize that that's not what they want to do, and therefore the business will fail, they'll shutter it, they'll close it down, or perhaps there will be some degree of self-sabotage that they do so that the business kind of collapses upon itself, because deep down that's not really what they wanted or what they were committed to. So I think that is one of the reasons that a lot of businesses fail, is just lack of sort of commitment, which comes from lack of alignment with personal values and a lifestyle mismatch. I think another reason is that a lot of people, I see this a lot, where people want to run before they can walk, and they want to do kind of the bells and whistles of things before they actually learn like foundational, right? And so I think that the key to scaling a business is you have to have a strong kind of nugget at the center of the snowball for the snowball to then build. But if you don't have that strong foundation, I personally am a fan of kind of a grassroots bootstrap mentality. Like I personally feel, and this is how I did my businesses, that if I'm not able to kind of put food on my own table, and then beyond putting food on my own table, then start creating lifestyle that I love, and then beyond that, then start expanding beyond what is from survival to thriving and so on and so forth. I just think that it's hard to start off with this massive kind of castle in the clouds vision and work backwards from there. I actually think it's healthier and it's more aligned with sort of how our brain works to start small and grow incrementally. I'm a fan of people making a profit as early on as possible and reinvesting those profits into their organization, their business. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe in the startup model, or that I think people shouldn't have investors. Of course, absolutely, that is that's something that's out there and it's done, and especially with tech startups, makes a lot of sense, because why not go for why not think big? But I think that there's just a balance between. I just really think that if you can't be your own investor in the smartest possible way, then bringing in another investor is going to create problems down the line. So sort of like work on the self, work on your habits, work on putting one foot in front of the other, walk before you run. And then when you run, and I imagine that you guys have a lot of opinions about this with your Scale It program, and then when you run, you really run, right? So yeah, I also think that a lot of people have a money mindset challenge, and that can actually lead to kind of fear of success. So I think that there are different points when entrepreneurs are going from one level to the next of running their organization, where they can start to feel overwhelmed, not just by how much work they're doing, but also by how much it's working, like how much success they're having. And things can come up from childhood, things like, I'm not worth all of this, or, people can just start to sort of push away the very success that is coming to them. And I'll also add that I think that, we live in a society that's very driven to have people be active, constantly active. And I think sometimes there is a bit of receptive energy that entrepreneurs don't allow themselves to have. They don't allow themselves to sit back and have wonderful opportunities fall into their laps, or they will have a wonderful opportunity fall into their lap and they'll be chasing some other thing because they've gotten distracted by having to do more or something like that. So I think that's a big part of why businesses fail. And then as far as why businesses stay stuck, okay, let's say that somebody's running a business, it's a good business. I can speak to this from experience. I think there can be a reluctance to delegate that will keep the business as small as the one person can manage, right? So I think that's a huge thing. And I think in another question, there's more about delegation, so I won't say too much here. And then I think sometimes there can be genuine mishires. So sometimes a business owner isn't delegating because the business owner is stuck in their own stuff, right? Or they have kind of limiting or false beliefs about having to do everything. But there's also other times where you've just hired the wrong people to delegate to. You hired wrong. And so you start delegating, and sure enough, those people are not the right people to be delegating to. They're doing it wrong, or they're disappointing you. And so that can kind of create this like loop, right? Where then you become even more reluctant to delegate and so on and so forth. So I think that's quite the smattering of reasons I think businesses tend to fail or stay stuck. On to question number 6. How would I coach somebody if they fear putting themselves out there? Like if they have a little bit of a reluctance to being their own salesperson. Well, I would say that there does need to be, there's 2 aspects to it. There's the mindset component, and then there's the techniques or strategies, right? With mindset, I would say probably I would remind the person that they are selling all of the time. Like they're selling themselves or selling their ideas. The fact that they started a business is like selling kind of the American dream to themselves and to others. So I would sort of help them reframe themselves as, hey, you're already selling. You're already a salesperson, right? And then I would help them to think of having a value offering mindset. Like you're offering something of value to other people, and you're relating with them and you're transacting with them in a way that then helps you also receive something in return. And that's what sales is. So I think that's as far as the mindset side. As far as the technique side is concerned, I mean, I do know how to sell. I know how to write sales scripts. I know how to put together good marketing messaging and value propositions, and I can help people improve their public speaking skills so that they can learn to sell from stage. I mean, I'm good at the actual technical side of how to sell, but I think that there needs to be a mindset shift that precedes that. 7th question, how would I support somebody who I believe to be how would I support a client that might be micromanaging? I think there's so much overlap between this and then what I shared about the time management aspect, right? Because I think a lot of it has to do with entrepreneurs' mindsets. A lot of times entrepreneurs have a lot of anxieties about whether people are doing, things correctly. They have a strong inner critic towards themselves, and then they'll have that inner critic towards whomever they're delegating to, and then they get into this micromanaging mode. I would say that one way to help solve for this is to get honest, heart-centered feedback from the employees. Actually check in and say, how involved do you think I should be versus how involved I am in the things I've asked you to do? And then listen to the feedback, because I think a lot of times just having the conversation with the employees can help entrepreneurs sort of settle down a bit. So for example, if an employee were to say, no, I'm not experiencing you as a micromanager, it's very supportive when you send me an email, once a week about blah, 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 then the entrepreneur can sort of relax and say, oh, okay, I don't now view myself as a micromanager. Conversely, if they have some input from a different employee who's like, yeah, I mean, I feel like you really are kind of peeking over my shoulder all the time. And here's why I believe that that's not necessary. I mean, like, look, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done it right, and I've done it for a long time. Hearing that feedback, I think, from the other stakeholders, I think is really important for the entrepreneur to be able to take in so that they can have a more kind of purposeful calibration of their involvement. And then I also think there's something, it's something that therapists use for people with diagnosed OCD, and it's called exposure therapy, right? So it's a little extreme, but I mean, if you have somebody that is very much an anxious micromanager and you just don't allow them to send an email to such and such employee for 1 week or 2 weeks or even a month in some cases, and they realize that the world has not fallen apart because they did not interfere with that process, I think that they can become, excuse me, a little bit kind of inoculated to the anxieties that cause people to micromanage. 8th question is about exhaustion and burnout and overwhelm. Again, I feel like it might be redundant the way that I answer this question, but I think this has a lot to do with the time management aspect and with the micromanagement aspect. I would say go back to eliminate, automate, delegate. Absolutely, don't sweat the small stuff. Focus on the bigger things. Make sure that you're delegating and you're delegating appropriately and not micromanaging within that delegation. Make sure you have your priorities straight. And I also think that I would work with that coachee, and I would address them in a very compassionate way that's not shaming of them, but I would ask them to do some introspection and ask themselves, what is the cost to them of the way that they are behaving that causes them burnout, that causes them overwhelm? What is the cost to their team? What is the cost to the company overall? And what is the cost to the world when the executive or the entrepreneur is, not performing at their maximum because they're not doing self-care? They are in workaholic mode. They're on all the time. Yeah, it has a short-term benefit, perhaps, right? But it also has a big cost. So I would do sort of an emotional and health and even like a tangible results sort of cost benefit analysis with that coachee, but in a way that's not shaming of them, because they probably are already full of anxiety and shame if they're behaving in this way to begin with. Ninth question: what would I say to somebody if they're doing everything they can and it seems like nothing is working? From a mindset perspective, I would encourage them to perhaps look at some of their blind spots, like some things that they're assuming just wouldn't work, or they're kind of going through life thinking, well, that's a dumb thing, I'd never do it. Look at what are those things that are kind of blind spots, or things that you have an automatic no to, right? And I would ask them to question or challenge that. But I also think that, I would ask them to challenge their assumptions. But I also think that there's a very practical way to go about this, which is to apply the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, and say, look, it's not actually true that nothing is working. Some things are working better than others. So let's sit down and look at sort of let's do an audit of your results, of what's bringing in, like what are the marketing strategies or the things that you're doing with your business that are producing 80% of the results. And even if it's like they're just not doing well in general, within that not doing well in general, one or two strategies are going to be working better than others. So I would say to have them focus on that which is working and do more of it, and have them eliminate, actually sometimes quite boldly, those things that are not working. On to question number 10. As far as marketing, what are my strengths within marketing? As I said, I'm comfortable with SEO, especially local SEO. I am also, I believe that I'm a very verbal person with all the language background. So I'm actually really good at marketing messaging, right? I'm good at coming up with key components. I mean, I don't know that this would be my job to like come up with their slogans or whatever, but I am good at things like coming up with very catchy phrasing and, helping people put together a unique value proposition. I'm good at word choice. I'm good at call to action. I think I'm also good at sort of understanding like sort of the philosophy behind funnels, like how to get people from like one level of interaction to another level until they finally click on the call to action button and then convert. I think I'm actually quite good at that. I think I'm also good at branding, things like logos, color choices. I can help people come up with a cohesive and compelling message. I know quite a bit about branding through storytelling, and if you go to my website functionallyfluent.com, I think you'll see where I'm able to kind of speak to the consumer as though they're on their own hero's journey, and my product is going to support them in that journey. In a kind of storytelling almost kind of way. So those are my strengths as regards to marketing. Like I said, I also have a good sense of Google Ads, although I'm very familiar with Google Ads, but haven't had as much luck with them as I've had with other things. And then I am familiar with social media marketing, but not being a huge social media user myself, I would not say that that's my field of expertise, although I have used it in my businesses and seen it work to varying degrees. On to question number 11. Strategic planning and vision. Okay, I'm looking at my notes here. Yeah, of the different components, right, of the scale it model. What are my strengths? I would say I'm very good at strategic planning and vision. I would say that I'm an absolute expert at cash flow. I mean, I'm retired at the age of 47, right? And honestly, over the years, I have always had positive cash flow with fewer hours per week of my own work than the average entrepreneur. So I'm just very good at creating a cash flow rich life. And then definitely I am a master at leadership. I have been a leadership development consultant alongside being my own, running my own businesses and teams for, 15 plus years. So yeah, those are the three areas that I shine in. I think that the thing that I really, 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 really shine in is that I'm a really good facilitator. I just get a lot of feedback that I come across as warm and engaging, and I'm personable, I'm encouraging, I'm a cheerleader of others, while also being smart and grounded and able to be seen as a true subject matter expert. But I think even beyond the subject matter expertise, just the way that I am with other people, I would say helps me be just a really amazing facilitator and coach. And then finally, so what are some of the areas that I might need to be coached or trained on? Well, most of my experience over the course of my entire life has been working with groups and working in person, as opposed to, say, virtually or one-on-one. Now, I have done a lot of one-on-one work, and I do enjoy it. I'm saying I just really shine when I'm with a group. And then also, as regards to tech, most of us, I think, most people my age, I think a lot of the world is kind of new to doing everything on Zoom or everything on Microsoft Teams. So I think that there are some tech platforms that I will do super well with, and I'm really familiar with, and I think there's others that there will be a learning curve. I also think I think that the areas that I already mentioned are not my huge strengths, such as social media marketing or Google Ads or whatever. Those might be things that if it's a core part of the Scale It program, I would like to learn more about, so that I can actually have more expertise in those areas. And I think my final comment is to say that I'm really open and excited to be trained up in your particular methodology. I love teaching other people's curriculum. Honestly, I do. I just think it's just so, it just creates a cadence and a flow to the interactions with the participants, with the coachees, that is just, it feels very structured for me. And therefore I'm able, because I have the structure of the program that you guys have put together, I'll be able to kind of midwife it, or have, bring it to life in a way that I think will be really, really great partnership. So I'm looking forward to being coached by all of you on Scale It, is the point that I'm making there. And I feel like I probably have gone well over time. And if I have, I apologize. I'm trying to speak as quickly as possible, but have not been looking at my watch. So I'm going to go ahead and end this and thank all of you for your time in having watched this video. And I really appreciate this opportunity and look forward to our next steps. Take care. Bye.